also happens to be an accomplished marathon runner, an AGSB MBA Regis alumni graduate, and currently our professor for both Marketing Management and Management Dynamic class. Please help me welcome Professor Joy Bullios.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I stand before you, I am overjoyed of the outcome of this brainchild concept of both my classes in the Ateneo Graduate School of Business. What started as an insight in being able to express our little contribution to the Cebu progress have been well put to a good concept of creating the Business Forum to provide a platform to strengthen the bond between the present Ateneo Graduate School of Business students and the alumni and connect with the business community and other stakeholders. I would like to welcome our distinguished speakers, Mr. Acquaah-Harrison and Mr. Alfon, who will both be properly introduced later. We are honored by their presence and for generously sharing their valuable time to this afternoon's forum. We are also graced with the presence of our Dean from the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, who flew in from Manila to show support to our students and to this afternoon's forum. Welcome, Dean Rudy Ang. To our dear alumni members, our students in the Cebu campus, our beloved guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us show you how collaboration is exemplified in its highest form. This event is a showcase of passion, commitment, and genuine desire to make a difference in our community, from the group whose trust is to be able to contribute to nation building. Thank you to our generous sponsors. Thank you also to our volunteer ushers, group of K-12 graduating students from the Parif Springdale School. And finally, on behalf of the Mandarin Regis class and Marketing Standard class of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Cebu campus, we would like to welcome all of you to this afternoon's Business Forum.
In 1977, it moved to H. de la Costa Street in Salcedo Village, Makati. In 1998, to its present location in Rockwell. By 2012, the Ateneo Graduate School of Business had expanded its reach beyond Metro Manila, with satellite schools in Santa Rosa, Clark, and Cebu. AGSB's reach also extends into the global network of cyberspace through its virtual classrooms and distance learning programs. In the 47 years of its existence, the AGSB has shaped 7,500 students who, released as alumni, have gone on to lead business and ventures and run the engines that drive companies and the economy at large. Whether starting new traditions or maintaining established ones, it's important to note that many AGSB graduates have assumed leadership roles in various sectors and institutions of Philippine society that impact on the country's development. Government, military, financial services, information technology, entrepreneurship, aviation, education, infrastructure, tourism, and even as the AGSB has produced leaders in these key sectors, its specialization is the education and development of the technically competent, politically aware, and socially committed people who make institutions and organizations work. For they are the products of a management program that believes that while expertise without integrity is empty, and integrity without expertise is ineffectual, it must never be forgotten that expertise and integrity without service is irrelevant. The school teaches that competitiveness in a rapidly globalized world must be put in the service of social equity, and integrates these concepts and values in all its courses. This approach, unique to the AGSB, is what sets it apart from other programs and is reflected in its value proposition. The purpose of business is not only for profits, but building the nation as well. AGSB's holistic approach, cited by alumni as the school and program's defining feature, finds its expression in the following areas. Service learning is the socially responsible application of the subjects covered in the curriculum. The AGSB has been champions for 14 consecutive years in inter-school athletic competitions. The Mulat Diwa program integrates the spiritual side of AGSB life with sustainability and a green outlook. Looks Indomitable handles the spirituality side of the AGSB community life. Lenten lectures, Advent recollections, triduums, retreats, campus ministry. MAGIS is an acronym for Managing for Growth, Innovation, and Sustainability, which is the AGSB's work with NGOs and SMEs towards greater innovations and sustainability. Kura Kalikasan is AGSB's effort to instill among our community a deeper concern for creation and generate concrete action steps towards environmental protection. The Leaders for Health program was an innovative award-winning competency-building program that was geared towards 3 selected leaders: municipal mayors, community leaders, and physicians, aligning their understanding, belief, feeling, and behavior towards health. The AGSB pinpoints and stays ahead in current trends in business education. Globalization is embedded in the curriculum and reflected in the AGSB community. The students and faculty come from regional and global companies. AGSB is the only MBA school in the Philippines with programs running in partnership with foreign universities. AGSB was the first business school to offer an accelerated MBA program, which is the result of a partnership with Regis University, a Jesuit school in Denver, Colorado, recognized as a leader in the field of accelerated adult learning for over 40 years. That mutually beneficial venture has borne much fruit. In 2004, the AGSB received the Thomas Kennedy Award, a recognition by Regis University that among all its partner schools in the U.S. and in other countries, the AGSB was the best in the design and delivery of accelerated adult learning programs. The AGSB ESCA program is a 2-year course where students study and hone their skills in the Philippines, France, and Shanghai, immersing themselves in different management philosophies and the best practices of a global business environment. École Supérieure des Sciences Commerciales d'Angers is one of France's top management schools and has close corporate links with some 5,000 companies that has led to student work placement and recruitment of graduates. The joint program has the European Program Accreditation System, Label of Excellence, awarded by the European Foundation for Management Development, the International Network for Excellence in Management Development. A joint project of Commission on Higher Education and Fund for Assistance to Private Education produced the only comprehensive study to date of MBA programs in the Philippines. Out of 195 MBA programs of all business schools in the Philippines, the AGSB was adjudged number 1. Similarly, a comprehensive evaluation conducted by the Philippine Survey and Research Center revealed the AGSB has the largest market share of entrants into MBA programs. But all of the respondents were positively predisposed towards it. The AGSB also gets full marks in its satisfaction rating from the alumni, and there is a 52% incidence of promotion of its students shortly after graduation. Innovation. AGSB is the only Philippine business school to receive the CMO Asia Best Business Award for Innovation Leadership, making it one of 5 Asian business schools so honored. The AGSB has also received the Business School Leadership Award from the World Education Congress in recognition of its preeminence and leadership in the offering of dynamic and responsive MBA programs to its practitioner-based constituents, adult learning teaching methods, and state-of-the-art facilities for both online and classroom teaching. Having collaborated with workplace-based learners, making use of the experience they bring to the classroom, the school has created an educational environment in which everyone is simultaneously a teacher and a learner, drawing upon not only books and theory, but also from a real-world capture of how businesses work. This mix of experience and expertise in content, program design, and delivery methods is why AGSB is now recognized as the leader in management education of the workplace-based and experience-driven adult learning. Even when most graduate schools of business cater to the full-time student, the AGSB positioned itself to focus on those who, while continuing in the workplace, wish to go to school to expand their knowledge and acquire new skills. Now, the landscape has changed the world over. Being a full-time student is no longer a desirable option, as most people do not wish to or cannot leave the workplace. Being a part-time student also has immediate value and benefits, as what is learned in class has significant real-world applications that can be applied right away. The gold standard in management education is no longer the full-time student. Accordingly, the AGSB, because of all of its years of experience, has emerged as the leader in the education of the workplace-based and experience-driven learner. Ivy League schools in the U.S. have pinpointed 3 important trends of growth in management education: online learning, part-time student program, and accelerated program. Through the years, the AGSB's programs have moved forward precisely among those 3 tracks. The online program is in its 9th year. The program for part-time students has been developed and continuously refined for 47 years. The accelerated program is in its 15th year. As the AGSB moves forward into the 21st century, it celebrates and it looks at what has come before and lies ahead. It reflects on its achievements with deep satisfaction and great pride, having drawn inspiration from the mother university, the Ateneo de Manila, which has defined its mission as that of producing leaders to promote social justice and equity in the service of the nation. It looks to the future, the challenges and opportunities of a new global community, and the tools to shape and influence the workings of our society, country, and the world are the men and women of AGSB who believe our country is our business.
Please help me welcome from the Marketing Management class, Mr. John Philip Lim, to give us the rationality of the program.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. Okay. So this business fellowship forum will bring into the fore information and development that will significantly affect the future of Cebu and the country as a whole. Two highly esteemed guest speakers will talk about the direction of Cebu in the context of economic development. With this underpinning, the speakers will exhaustively share what they know about the current economic climate in Cebu and its great potential and how it is influencing and attracting local and foreign investors. The present and future infrastructures developments that will support Cebu's economic growth will also be tackled during this event. So why build Cebu? One of the primary reasons is to highlight the two major infrastructure developments that are currently happening right now here in Cebu. It is also worth sharing that this is the first time where two MBA programs of Ateneo de Manila University under the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, both the Regis and Standard program, are in joint effort to bring into the Cebu community the Mulat Diwa values, which is serving our community. The highlight of the event is really the gathering of IGSB alumni, students, and the members of the Cebu business community. So the event aims to generate insights and inspire economic participation that will further strengthen and support the government's aim of a growing Cebu. And more importantly, we want to stay true to the Ateneo's commitment to nation building. The event also aims to continuously fire up and ignite the business and entrepreneurial spirit of the business community to become a unified body that shall sustain the economic life force here in Cebu. So thank you so much. We're going to make this event wonderful and insightful. So help us build future leaders, build a sustainable community, and as well as let's build a better Cebu. Thank you.
And now my fellow Management Dynamics class student, Ms. Kim Raza, will be introducing our first speaker.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon. Our first speaker is one of the sought-after personalities in the air transportation industry. He has worked for 12 airport projects globally with senior leadership experience on airport operations, airport development, and airport privatization for the last 26 years. His outstanding portfolio includes being the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of New Delhi International Airport. He was the Chief Executive Officer of Mayo International Airport in Maldives, the Chief Operating Officer of New Delhi International Airport, the Chief Operating Officer of Hyderabad International Airport in India, the Airport Operations Director of London Luton Airport, and other various operational roles in USA, South America, Saudi Arabia, and England airports. For the last 10 years, he has worked for GMR Group, the largest private airport company in India, and has delivered GMR's core competence of transforming legacy airports under PPP, or Public-Private Partnership Initiative, into award-winning airports by providing world-class airport facilities at the same time achieving significant revenues. His expertise in business strategy and superior interpersonal skills aid him to lead the core management team with lean and empowered organization that delivers remarkable business results. He has gained education in USA and Newcastle University in England. He is happily married and is blessed with 4 children. It's pretty interesting to know that he's into mountain biking, swimming, and basketball. I am pleased to introduce our honorable speaker and privileged to have partaken a little piece of his project, which will be operational in a few months' time. We are very excited as will be the first of its kind resort airport in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome the Chief Executive Advisor of our very own Mactan-Cebu International Airport, Mr. Andrew Acquaah-Harrison.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Maayong hapon. I think the first thing I'm going to have to do is discipline whoever wrote that introduction, because I'm not sure who they're talking about, really. It is, first of all, quite an honor and a privilege to be sitting in a room full of people who I'm sure are 20 times smarter than me. And it's also a privilege to be able to share a little bit about our project. So, Ateneo Graduate School of Business is well known. It is well known outside of the Philippines, not just in the Philippines. So it makes a big difference for us to be able to share our learnings in such a forum. The other thing I want to share with you is we heard some key words. One of them was leadership development, and another one was nation building. So let me first spend a few minutes and talk about leadership. The mantra, I guess, of a faculty such as Ateneo Graduate School of Business is to create the leaders of today and tomorrow. Now, leadership, I must tell you, my wife told me, you better wear your best tie and suit today on stage. So I'm sorry that I'm dressed in boots and trousers because we work on site. We work 7 days a week, we work 16 hours a day to ensure that we can deliver this project. So I haven't worn a suit for a while, so I apologize if I'm not suitably dressed. But I can tell you something about leadership. The first thing about leadership is there are no medals in leadership. Number two, nobody necessarily treats you as a leader. You're there to clean up all the mess. And your main job is to try and ensure that you don't have messes to clear up. So you may as well be named or labeled as the chief washroom officer to make sure that you don't get dirty messes in your organization to clean up. And that's what we tend to do with great pride. And leadership is not about the recognition you receive or the medals or the awards. Leadership is about delivering value to society, delivering value to the people who work for the organization, and creating innovation that keeps pace with the needs of society and the changing demands of the economy that we're in. We talked about nation building. Nation building, many people believe, is a responsibility of government. I stand to correct you, it is not. Nation building is something that businesses have to play a key role in doing, because the government has some key criteria it must fulfill, but in terms of what we do for society, private sector plays a very, very big role. We talk about the minimum wage. The minimum wage is set by government, okay? And we lament that this is the minimum wage. But what is private sector prepared to do about the minimum wage? Is private sector simply going to sit and just allow government to set the minimum wage? Or is private sector going to do something more with that? That's what leadership is about. So let me give you an example. For me, this is my 18th country to live in. And one of the things that I tend to do is when I first arrive in a country, I tend to try to understand the culture of the people. Because if you don't understand the culture of people, there's no way that you can actually survive and deliver great value, because you don't know what people expect and what they aspire to. So I try to understand food, I try to understand religion, I try to understand behavior, aspirations. I've ridden in every type of transport there is in the Philippines. In Manila, on my 3rd day in the Philippines, I took 4 buses. I didn't even know where they were going. I just wanted to know how people travel by bus in Manila. I didn't do that after that, I must tell you. I traveled by jeepney, by trike, by pedicab, everything. I came to conclude at the end of my assessment that the 2 cultural pillars of Filipino culture are family and religion. And if those are the 2 pillars, then we must ensure that as an organization, we try to find ways of bringing innovation to those 2 pillars. How do we take care of our people? Another thing I discovered, the minimum wage at the time we took over the airport in 2014 was about 9,800 pesos per month. Now, the average Filipino, one salary caters to 6 people. Lola, niece, nephew, medication, etc., rebuilding a house in a typhoon-hit area. So by the time one person's salary has met all of these dependencies, they're left with around 1,400 pesos. That includes transportation to and from work, it includes meals at work, it includes whatever personal items or health care that they require. So what are they really left with? What does that mean? It means the quality of choices they can make in life are therefore limited. Now, as private sector, what are we going to do? Sit there and wait for government to raise the minimum wage level? Or is private sector going to step in and say, no, I'm going to try and create value to society by doing something different? So our very first step as an organization was we decided that the minimum wage for any employee in the company will be 15,000 pesos. That was our decision. Now, it had some consequences, I can tell you. 92% of Cebu Pacific staff wanted to join us. So we had to have an emergency meeting with Cebu Pacific to tell them that we're not going to take all these staff. But what it does mean is those people who joined us were able to therefore make better decisions about their lives. It also meant that we had people who were more, if you like, aligned to what we were trying to do as an organization. So you start building from the ground up. And I think these are traits of leadership as an organization, not as an individual. And this is all part of the story that leads us into the project I'm going to share with you. Just a few other points I'd like to share with you. As an organization, we do a few other things. Because remember I told you, family and religion. If your child, as an employee, is one of the top 10 performing students in any year, junior school, high school, university, the company will sponsor them fully. Tuition, books, education, uniform, the whole lot. We have 52 dependent children today on the scholarship program as a result of this. If you get married for the first time only, we contribute 15,000 pesos towards your wedding. I had 2 employees who came to see me. They were very excited. They said, we're in love, we're going to get married, we're going to get 30,000. I didn't know whether they were more excited about the 30,000 or being in love and getting married. I just wasn't sure. Anyway, so what I mean to say is that private sector has a role to play in nation building. It's not just about bricks, steel, glass. It's all about what we do for people to empower people so that society is more capable of meeting the needs of our development curve and evolution. So, sorry to dwell on that. I just wanted to share that with you as an introduction. Now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our project. Okay. So, Mactan-Cebu International Airport, it's the first public-private partnership PPP project airport in the country, and today in fact it stands as the only one. The concession was for a period of 25 years, and the objective or the concessionaire's obligation was to basically manage, develop and build future capacity of the airport for the 25-year period, and at the end of the 25-year period hand over the assets back to government. And then government could decide what they want to do with the assets. Either go for another concession, control and manage the asset themselves. That's a decision that's up to government. Now, as a public utility, foreign direct investment is limited to 40% for a foreign company. This is a Filipino company. So Megawide is a 60% equity holder of this company, and GMR of India is 40%. So Megawide brings its construction expertise. They have the most advanced precast facilities in the Philippines, which are designed to withstand the type of climatic conditions that we experience here. Typhoons, strong winds, heavy rains. And precast means that you can build much faster than you can with conventional concrete pouring at site. GMR brings its airport management and development expertise. So as a partnership, it's been a fantastic journey together. In terms of the airport project, we have basically in the first 4 years of the project, we're supposed to do a minor retouch of the terminal building and then construct the new international terminal, which is Terminal 2. And once Terminal 2 is open, we have 1 year to renovate Terminal 1, which will be domestic only. So it's effectively the first 4 years of the project is when the bulk of investment, which is around 35 billion pesos, would be spent. Beyond that, for the remainder of the concession period, as an airport operator, it's our responsibility to ensure that we meet the levels of service that the concession agreement demands and to ensure that capacity is adequate for the growth that's envisaged. Okay, so every airport you travel to has something known as its DNA. So if I take Delhi, people tell me that Manila airport used to be the worst airport in the world. I promise you, you're misguided. The worst airport in the world was India. It was 1,000 times in Delhi, 1,000 times worse than Manila Airport could ever have been. And today it has become the #1 airport in the world for airport service quality, ranked by a body known as Airports Council International. But the DNA of Delhi Airport was to transform the travel experience of the ordinary passenger, to give them a travel experience that's on par with the best level of service anywhere in the world. Changi, Singapore, many of you have been to Changi. You go through, it's so beautiful. They even have a swimming pool airside. If you're in transit for 6 hours and you want to swim, you can go there, and if you didn't bring your swim shorts, you can buy swim shorts. Ladies can buy bikinis, guys can buy bikinis too if they want. They're so inclined, and you can swim right there overlooking the apron. They even have a free cinema. It's just like a normal cinema, and they have the show times listed. So it's a great place to be, and what Singapore is trying to do is to showcase what the city-state has to offer to everybody who travels through. No expense spared. Dubai, it's the retail mecca of airports in the world, okay? It's all about shop, shop, shop. And in fact, Dubai's concourse has been designed with shops in the middle and boarding gates either side. So you effectively have to walk past all the retail shops to ensure that you spend, you're inclined to spend. What's really interesting is, in the middle of the concourse, when you arrive and you change concourses in Dubai, when you arrive, there used to be a flight information display telling you your gate number, and there used to be an information desk in case you needed directions or you needed information about your gates. They have removed them. They have actually removed them. Now they are at both ends of the concourse, so that you must walk past 50% of the shops before you find your gate information. Okay? Now, retail focus, yes. Consumer focus, I'm not so sure. But they're on target now to declare around $2.6 billion in profit in duty-free revenues in a year. Highest duty-free revenue earning airport in the world. Las Vegas, gambling capital of the world. When you get to the boarding gate, they have the one-armed bandit machines there. Just in case you didn't get enough gambling while you were in the city, you can still gamble at the boarding gates. So every airport has its own DNA. Our challenge was, when we took over Mactan-Cebu Airport, how do we present Mactan-Cebu Airport to the world? Now, one thing I want to share with you is that an airport is not a destination, it's a gateway. Nobody goes to an airport because the staff who work there are a great bunch of people. People go there because they want to catch a particular flight to a particular destination at a particular time for a price. So it's only a gateway. So if you're marketing, you cannot market the gateway. You have to market the destination. And the challenge for Mactan-Cebu Airport is that the airport traditionally has simply been a gateway for intra-ASEAN traffic. It's not really catered to long-haul, long-range flights, and therefore most people have to go to Manila to travel. Now, given some of the challenges and delays in Manila, you all know, some people will travel a day earlier just so that they don't get delayed and miss their flight. They then have to find accommodation, they have to find somewhere to eat. All of these things become more complex in terms of their travel choices and decisions. So our objective was to showcase Mactan-Cebu Airport as a gateway to the Visayas and to the rest of the Philippines. How do we do that? Okay, if you ask an average tourist in the US, Europe, or other parts of the world, will you pick the Philippines as a tourism destination, holiday destination? Most people will say no. Why? They'll talk about Bali, Thailand, Seychelles, Mauritius, Maldives, all of these places that are more well known. One day somebody asked me, is the Philippines next to Hawaii? I said, no, it's 10 hours away. It's nowhere near Hawaii. So people don't even have an appreciation of where the Philippines is. Now, this is Four Seasons Resort in the Maldives, okay? You cannot see where the swimming pool ends and the infinity pool ends and the sea starts, because they made them both the same color. When you arrive at the jetty, you feel like you're in paradise. Wow, I've arrived here. And I showed this to a group of tourism stakeholders. I won't tell you who was there, but I can just tell you that they were senior tourism stakeholders. And they were like, wow, we would really like to go there. We'd really like to be there to experience this ourselves. And then I showed them one more slide, which was this slide here. I said, you'd really like to go there? They said, yes, we'd love to go to the Maldives. I said, the only problem is this slide is not the Maldives. This slide is Mactan-Cebu. This is Shangri-La Resort right here in the Philippines, in Cebu. Now, if our tourism stakeholders don't appreciate what we have here, how will the rest of the world appreciate what we have here? You tell me, what's the difference in the color of the sky, the clouds, the sand, and the sea? Well, I will tell you there are some differences. You go to Thailand and you try to find how many people you can speak English with easily, more challenging. The Philippines, English is widely spoken. I don't know if you know this, 2015 Gallup survey, the Filipino smile was judged the warmest, most genuine smile on earth. Yeah? And I see it every day, I feel it every day, so I know it's true. Okay, and yet they call Thailand the land of smiles. So why are we even competing with Thailand? Okay. Second, Gallup survey 2017, the Filipino population was judged the third happiest population in the world. So despite many of the calamities, difficulties, and tragedies, the resilience of the Filipino people means that they bounce back. The warmth and hospitality of the Filipino people is legendary. It's known that when you're with Filipinos, you're treated as though you're family. Now, I say this because these are elements that we have to harness, okay? These are cultural traits that we must use to showcase and sell the Philippines to the rest of the world. And we do exactly that, no less. Now, I'm not plugging Shangri-La. I don't have a free pass to Shangri-La because I've shown them here. But it's just to showcase just what's available here. This is another resort, Plantation Bay, very beautiful. So, we take geographical advantage of our position in the center of the Philippines. I don't know if you know this, again, there are many meetings, incentives, and conventions that take place in Cebu because it's easy to get to from virtually any part of the Philippines. It's easier to get to than going all the way to Manila, especially for those who are coming from Visayas, Mindanao region. So our geographical center means that we are the ideal jump-off point if you want to reach most of the major tourism resorts or areas in the Philippines. This circle represents 1 hour's flying time from Cebu. The only destination outside of 1 hour is Palawan, which is 1 hour and 20 minutes. But other than that, you can reach everywhere. So we showcase this to airlines, to tour operators, etc., when we go around the world marketing the Philippines as a destination. So, what does the Philippines have to offer? Well, everything, from the best of the marine experience. Do you know that swimming with whale sharks year-round the Philippines is one of the very few places in the world where you can experience swimming with whale sharks year-round. Emirates flies a daily service into Dubai. The Emirates cabin crew and flight crew rate Cebu, actually Cebu, not the Philippines, rate Cebu as their 11th most preferred destination because of the warmth and hospitality of people here and because of the opportunity to swim with whale sharks. Best of the white sandy beaches, waterfalls, absolutely fantastic. And if you don't want to do that and you want the cosmopolitan shopping experience, we have the 5th largest shopping mall in the world, SM Seaside. I don't know if you know that. 5th largest in the world. 3rd largest is in Manila, 5th largest. So yes, we love to shop. Just to give you an example, India has 381 retail brands. The Philippines has 1,192 retail brands. Every single brand is available, including North Face. There's no snow, but North Face sells very, very well in the Philippines, okay? So, consumerism at its best. Multiple awards, the famous Sinulog Festival, at Condé Nast Travel Magazine. 2017, Condé Nast Travel Magazine has ranked the 3 most beautiful islands in the world. Top 3 are here in the Philippines. And they are Boracay, Cebu, and Palawan, in that order. Out of the top 100 most beautiful islands in the world, the top 3 are right here in the Philippines. So we showcase this when we highlight this to airlines. Since we took over the airport, we've doubled the international traffic at the airport through our innovation and through the manner in which we market the airport. We used to handle 1.5 million passengers per annum international. Today we handle 3.2 million international. In 1 year alone, we introduced 8 new routes to China in 1 year alone. And we did some unthinkable things as well. We introduced a daily service to Dubai with Emirates. When the flight started, they used to carry 40 passengers from Cebu, and then it goes on to Clark, then Dubai. Today, the uplift is typically 200 passengers a day. And in another 3 to 4 months, Qatar Airways will also start a 4 times weekly service from Cebu to Doha, coming in via Davao and then to Cebu and then direct Cebu to Doha. We also launched the first non-stop flight to the US with Philippine Airlines. And it was a non-stop flight from here to Los Angeles. It's been suspended temporarily because the aircraft type they were using is not suitable because of its fuel consumption. But it will be reinstated by the end of 2018. Now, this for me was a very emotional moment. I was standing in Los Angeles Airport. This is the departure board of Los Angeles Airport. And I was standing there looking at the destinations. And for those of you who can't see it, I'll read it out to you. It says London Heathrow, Istanbul, Zurich, Sydney, Auckland, Manila's there also, but never mind, Melbourne, and Cebu. Shall I say it one more time, just in case you didn't hear? Cebu. Just imagine, we are the only regional secondary airport in the whole of Asia to be connected non-stop to LA. And this was a major achievement, not just for the Philippines, but specifically for all of those people coming from Visayas and Mindanao who no longer needed to connect through Manila. And since Philippine Airlines suspended this flight, they've had numerous complaints from passengers asking them when they're going to reinstate this service. So this was a great achievement. We also have to reflect the culture and heritage of the Cebuano people. So we enlisted Carrie Santiago, who designs outfits for Oscar attendees. And Carrie Santiago designed our staff uniform, reflecting the colors of the fiesta, the sinulog, and of course the headgear as well. So this is what our customer service staff wear. And for the male uniform, it's also anchored in the traditional barong, because we believe that we should showcase the best of what Cebu has to offer. Our first objective when we took over the airport was to reduce congestion. The airport's designed for 4.5 million. When we took over, it was handling 6.9 million. Now it's handling 10.2. So I apologize if sometimes it feels a bit cozy when you're in there. That's not our intention, and things will get better by the end of June when we open Terminal 2. But we doubled the amount of X-ray screening to make it easier for people to go through and to be checked as they go through screening. We introduced a lot of technology, including flight information displays. And very soon you'll even be able to get SMS updates on the status of a flight. So if you're meeting loved ones, family, friends, you'll be able to get SMS alerts on that. We introduced a system called inline baggage screening. So effectively from next month, when you enter the terminal, you will no longer have your bags x-rayed as you enter the terminal. Because it's inconvenient. You take your bag off the trolley, put it through the x-ray, go through, then take it to the other side, put it back. You will simply enter the check-in area, show that you're a genuine traveler with your travel document, printed or electronic, and go to check-in, check your bags in, and the system then x-rays your bags behind the scenes. We also introduced a walk-through duty-free shopping experience, because airport purchase is basically impulse purchase. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to the airport to buy a shirt or a handbag. But if you place the product there, they're in the right frame of mind, they're happy, then they're more inclined to shop. And I must tell you, there is a direct correlation between inefficient processing of passengers in an airport and a lower propensity to spend. If I spend my time queuing, meeting unhappy people, the toilets are really smelly and dirty, nobody seems to be helpful, why on earth would I want to shop in that airport? All I want to do is get out and go. So if we want to encourage retail behavior in the airport, we have to ensure efficiency in processing and handling of passengers. By the way, since we introduced the walk-through duty-free concept, their revenues went up 28%. So it's a proven theory. Taxis. We consolidated all the taxi parking operations in one area. I'm not sure if some of you might remember more than 3 years ago, if you arrived at the airport and you wanted a white taxi, you used to have to cross the arrival road, go up the steep ramp, go into the departure terminal, follow the paper signs, and then exit the terminal again, and you might be lucky to find a white taxi. I used to call it the airport's best kept secret, because they wanted to promote the yellow taxis but not the white taxi. So, you know, a passenger comes out and says, oh, can you tell me where the white taxi is? Secret, I can't tell you where they are. So, you know, and this is not what a consumer expects of us. So we consolidated all the taxi operations in one location on arrival. So as you exit, you turn right, white taxi, yellow taxi, grab taxi, and now we also introduced the My Bus service. So you can actually travel by My Bus, 25 pesos from the airport to SM City, or you can spend 140 pesos on a white taxi or 175 in a yellow taxi. You decide how deep your pockets are, how much time you have available on your hands. That's putting choice in the hands of the consumer, not dictating what they do and how they do it. We have a medical facility, so we have a doctor, 2 nurses, 2 paramedics with a life-saving ambulance. Treatment is free for anybody, passengers, staff. It costs us around 9 million pesos a year, but it's money well spent because we want to ensure we take care of the health, well-being, and safety of our passengers and staff. We also introduce technology, okay? Now, this is a technology where you present your boarding pass. It verifies that you're a genuine passenger, but also most importantly, if you have hand baggage only, okay, and you don't need to go to check-in and you have mobile boarding pass, you just show your QR code to the scanner and it will print your boarding pass right here. So you don't even need to go to check-in, you just go directly to security and then off you go. But of course, I must tell you, in technology advancement, there are also challenges because we're the only airport that has this technology. Now, in other countries you go to, several airports have the technology. So the challenge we have is that people only get the opportunity to use it when they're here. I remember one day we had a passenger, because we tell passengers, please scan your boarding pass face down. There was a person there who was having difficulty scanning their boarding pass, and the customer service agent told them, please scan face down. When she turned around and looked back, so they were following the instruction, but just not the right instruction. So technology does present us with challenges. It's not the be-all and end-all. Okay. Immigration. We introduced a brand new immigration zone that provided adequate capacity for processing passengers, and it was 2 immigration requirements. And so that's made the departure process much better. Washrooms. I must tell you, washrooms is something that's very important to me. And it should be important to anybody who manages an airport, because I can tell you, as a public utility, it doesn't matter how good the airport experience is. If the washroom experience is not good, nobody will remember anything good about you, because it's a basic hygiene factor. One of the great things about the job that I do is I get to go into the ladies' washroom during construction only, not after. Okay? And we can look, and I can tell you this, we did a detailed statistical analysis. Do you know that there are more female travelers than male travelers in the Philippines? So washrooms, when you go to a washroom, you'll find queues for the female washrooms, but not for the males. That's why in our terminal, we even have certain washrooms which are female only. It's to ensure that the count of washrooms available is high. There are basic factors you have to take care of. Don't ask me how I know this, but I know. So for example, full-length mirrors for the ladies' washroom as you exit, so that they don't stand in front of the sinks and block the sink capacity. The number of units in the ladies' washroom is double the number in the men's washroom. So these are all important factors. And in the ladies' washroom, we've introduced a tray for handbags, because no lady wants to put her prized handbag on a wet surface. That's why we have the tray. Another secret is that women spend in airports more than men. So if you look after the handbag, you will look after the spending. So that's a factor. We increased the sizes of the washrooms by 28%, so you don't fight with a cubicle door as you go in with your trolley bag. We also made the washrooms much nicer. These were designed by Kenneth Hobbenpay, by the way. So we didn't just design them ourselves, we tried to find people who understood how to design functional washrooms, which would be appealing. This washroom is the PWD, it's for disabled passengers. It's the only washroom facilities in the Philippines with electric sliding door. How does a person in a wheelchair push or pull a door open to get into the washroom? Now, if you're not a wheelchair user, you will not know what the requirements of a wheelchair user are. So I did a bit of research and I found out that the best disabled washroom in the Philippines is in Iloilo. I sent 2 of my staff there. They spent a day photographing, measuring, doing everything. Then I engaged the services of a wheelchair-dependent person to help us to design this washroom. And as a result, the Department of Tourism has stated that, Department of Transportation, this should be the minimum standard of washrooms in airports, seaports, and rail stations in the Philippines. And I hope that will come to pass. I hope that will be so. We introduced seating, more colorful, more vibrant, but more importantly, more comfortable. We doubled the length of the baggage carousel so that you don't crowd around the carousels as badly as you used to do. The other thing we do is we pre-stage the carts for you. But I must tell you, it was a really interesting experience the first day we did it. Because the first day we did it, nobody understood it. And I remember the first passenger walked up to a cart and was uncertain, and he stood in front of it, and he looked behind him, and he looked behind him the other way. And then he took his hands off the cart, and after a while he put his hands back on the cart. Because I think he wasn't sure who the cart belonged to. But the point is, today people are used to that as a standard, and we hope that this could be a standard that's replicated elsewhere. We've won numerous awards. One of the awards we won was for Best Regional Airport Asia Pacific. And this award, we competed with airports such as Hong Kong, which won the award last time round. So the first time an airport in the Philippines has won a major international award like that. In terms of our traffic today, 7 Filipino carriers connected to 35 destinations. We advertise on the radio, in newspapers, to show seamlessly how you can go from Iloilo to Incheon via Cebu. And I even go on travel shows with tour operators, the airlines, and my marketing and airline development team to some of these smaller cities to showcase the ease of connectivity through Cebu, so that we build demand and ease of travel through the airport. Today we're connected to 22 international destinations, and 17 foreign carriers today are serving us, and this number will continue to grow, giving Filipinos a chance to reach the rest of the world, and at the same time for foreign guests to easily reach the Philippines through Cebu. We expect that our traffic today at 10.2 million will grow to about 11.7 million by the end of 2018, and this growth trajectory is expected to continue at roughly around 12% year on year. Today, most of our traffic is focused around the ASEAN region. The traffic point, greatest point of originating passengers is typically from Japan, Korea, and now China is growing. Our target markets are Australia, Europe, and of course the USA. So Europe, we're looking at 2 carriers. One is Turkish Airlines and the other one is Finnair. Why Turkish Airlines? Because Turkish Airlines flies to more cities than any other airline in the world, and Istanbul as a city is connected to more cities than any other city in the world. So with one carrier, people can reach global connectivity very easily. The other market we're looking at is Australia. So we have a roadshow planned for Australia, and our team will be out there marketing the country, tourism, and the benefits of coming through Mactan-Cebu as a gateway. To promote connectivity, we have a transfer area at arrivals level. So you come in, you don't even need to go back upstairs to check in for your next flight. You can check in downstairs. And we accept bags up to 13 hours before departure. So this is the transfer area that we have at the arrival level, and it makes connectivity very easy. We also look at connectivity beyond the airport. So I told you about the taxi services, MyBus, etc., but not just beyond the airport. We talk about also beyond Cebu. So we have services now where you can even fly all the way to Bantayan and Bohol for as little as 800 pesos one way. And we also try to include ferry connectivity from the Island Mall, which is in the Mactan area. So these are things that we try to do to make it easier for people to travel through the airport. And I will conclude very shortly. So this is Terminal 2. And this terminal, I must share with you that the land was handed over to us 11 months behind schedule because of challenges with replicating the Air Force's facilities. So the concession agreement required us to be operational by the 1st of July 2018. As a result of the 11-month handover, we were allowed to open and commission Terminal 2 in June 2019. We will be ready to commission the terminal at the end of May 2018. We absorbed the 11-month delay, and we will deliver this project on time. And that's because Cebu needs it. And that's because our international travelers need it, and our domestic travelers need the relief in the existing domestic terminal. So, when we came up with the concept of design, we didn't want to import an airport from somewhere else in the world. We wanted the airport to reflect the culture and heritage of the Philippines. So we sent our architects and designers IDA to 15 different parts of the Philippines for design cues and inspiration, just to basically understand what were elements of design that you could discover in the Philippines. Now, at the end of their tour, they came up with this photograph on the left. So this photograph on the left depicts what they thought a typical tourist would imagine of a holiday in the Philippines, okay? So if you look at the color palette, the top one reflects the color of the vegetation, the next one down reflects the color of the skyline, the third one down reflects the color of the surrounding rockery, and the bottom one reflects the color of the graduating shoreline, okay? That was further translated into the color palettes on the right-hand side. This then translated into a wood structure for the roof, a large glass facade to be able to appreciate the surrounding beauty, and warm natural stone flooring, which translated into this design concept. So the design concept doesn't just arise because we think, hey, this is a nice material or that's a nice material. There is a logic, there is a concept behind it. And this effectively is what we're using. The terminal is the largest terminal in the world to use this much wood structure in its roof. It's the first one in the world to use this much, and certainly this will become a showpiece not just for the Philippines, but we believe for the entire ASEAN region. I have to tell you, the government of Singapore sent the Building and Construction Association team to Cebu. They spent 3 days with us, and it was led by the chief executive, who couldn't believe that we were building this project here. And when they went back, after 2 weeks, they wrote to us to tell us that 5 facilities in Singapore are now going to be built using this wood structure, and they thanked the Philippines for leading the way. And that felt like something great for us to be able to do. So, the material is natural wood. It's white alpine spruce imported from Austria. It has a 200-year service life, and it just has to be coated with a protective clear material at the end of every 50 years. It has a greater resistance to fire than steel, because steel under ultra-high temperature collapses, whereas wood will burn to a degree where you can replace the burnt structure, but it doesn't break down its core structural integrity and strength. And so the ceiling height in the terminal is 15 meters high, natural glass sunlight coming through. Now, I want you to just pay attention to the check-in desks on both sides. We heard the terminology resort-themed airport, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so the concept was, we are creating a resort-themed airport because most of the international travel is tourism-related, and we want people to feel their resort experience starts the moment they set foot into the terminal to the moment that they actually depart from the terminal. So if you look at the wood structure, you look at the flooring. The flooring is actually polished concrete installed by hand. It's polished concrete with mother-of-pearl inserts, which under the reflection of sunlight looks like you're walking on sand. And it's really amazing, I have to tell you. It's very beautiful. And that's the section of the flooring that you can see there now, already installed. This is how it looks when you're standing in the building. So these photographs were taken about 5 weeks ago. So we're much further ahead than these photographs even depict today. The terminal design is that departures and arrivals are completely segregated. So the yellow section, 2 check-in islands, 48 counters. You go through check-in, and then you go through the green zone, which is immigration first, then security second. In security, you're going to have the automated tray retrieval system, so the system automatically returns the trays for you to collect, making it efficient. So we're using technology to make the processing more efficient. And then the blue areas are boarding gates, retail, F&B, etc. Arrivals is 1 level below, so the blue channel are all the 3 arrival corridors, and the green section is immigration, arrival, and then you go down lifts and escalators to the arrivals level. 82% of hard furnishing in terminals comes from 5 European countries, okay? Hard furnishing are things like check-in counters, etc. Cebu is a furniture manufacturing hub. Why should we buy furniture from Europeans when they should be buying from us? So all the hard furnishing in the terminal comes from Cebu. It's built here by Cebuano hands, and 3 different companies have come together to manufacture the check-in desk. And the concept of the check-in desk is to create a glowing lantern. So the check-in desk has a rattan front panel, and it's backlit to create the concept of glowing lanterns, which is what you experience when you walk through the check-in. So this is exactly what the check-in desk, this is a mock-up of the check-in desk, and this is how it looks. And it will look stunning when you walk through the check-in hall. I told you about washrooms. Washrooms, we've taken this to another level. So all the fittings in the washrooms are solid mahogany from right here in the Philippines. It's very comfortable, it's beautiful, and not only that, we've created separate washroom facilities, including a family washroom as well. Because you know, it's really strange. When you need a washroom and you find one, you're actually very happy. Oh, I found a washroom. Ah, thank God. Why do we treat washrooms as undesirable places? We should celebrate washrooms. So we tasked the designer with making the approach to the washroom exciting. Don't make it look like some boring place to go to. Make it look like a place that you feel happy going to. And that's what they've done. And that's why the approach to the washrooms will actually look like this in Terminal 2. This is the rear facade of Terminal 2. This is a top-down view of duty-free. So after security, you go and you walk through duty-free, which will be operated by Duty-Free Philippines. This is one of the Fusion F&B restaurant facilities, which is going to open, which caters really to the needs of Filipino cuisine, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. This is on arrival, so this is on the forecourt area outside. This is the arrival F&B concept that we're going to have there. And this is at departure level, so Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf is one of the F&B facilities we'd have, with views out onto the apron. This is the bar area, which is a central area once you come through security. So you have a coffee lounge on one side and a main bar on the other side. And then this is duty-free retail as you go through. Arrivals. It's the worst part of the travel experience because everybody's taken all the money from you. Airline, airports. So low ceiling, exit over there, take your bag, thank you very much. We've tried to create a different concept. You've traveled in a narrow tube for so many hours, so we want you to have a feeling of spaciousness. And then this is the same view at the boarding gate with passengers seated there. Terminal 1 does not become the poor cousin. Terminal 1 will undergo a major renovation, and this is being led by Royal Pineda and Buji. So again, two very well-known Filipino designers are leading the redesign of Terminal 1. It will not look like Terminal 2, it'll have its own identity. But the idea is to create, again, a resort feeling and a sense of spaciousness. So this will be complete in June 2019. Interestingly, the person sitting above, if you look down, that area below, so this is one of the lounges, that area below is the arrivals road. So essentially, I'll take you to another shot of that. This is the check-in area, how it will look. These are departure gates. Washrooms, again, I won't dwell on it, but I promise you it'll be good. This is central security screening. Baggage reclaim. This is the arrivals road. The arrivals road in Terminal 1 gets closed and it becomes a retail or F&B avenue, but it's primarily designed for meeters and greeters. We know, in the Philippines, one person arrives, half the barangay comes to meet them. So today we have this very narrow curb space. Why do we do that? We need to give them the comfort and the luxury of space in which they can do things while they wait for their loved ones, friends, and families. So this becomes an arrival forecourt area for the use of the meeters and greeters who come through. Final slide, I just want to share, penultimate slide. It's not just about building nice facilities, it's also about the level of service people can experience. And these are some of the standards that we're required to meet. So 95% of passengers in economy class must be checked in within 15 minutes of arriving at check-in, no more. This is a standard that we have to meet for compliance purposes. 90% of passengers in immigration cannot wait more than 10 minutes. So immigration knows their manning needs to meet this standard, and we've designed a number of counters that can meet this standard. Domestic bag. First bag must be on the reclaim within 10 minutes of doors opening, last bag within 35 minutes. For an international flight, first bag 15 minutes, last bag 45 minutes. Again, these are standards that are monitored by the government, which we have to comply with. If we don't meet these standards, we risk losing the concession. And then finally, even pre-booked wheelchairs, maximum waiting time, 10 minutes. Sorry, the last slide I want to show you is an unsolicited proposal that we've made to the government to expand Mactan-Cebu Airport beyond what is defined in the concession agreement. And this involves the construction of a second runway, also Terminal 3, and 2 satellite terminals which will be connected by underground people movers. I'm pleased to say that out of the 5 stages of evaluation, we have already passed 2 stages. So there are 3 more stages. We're not out of the woods yet, But if we are successful in this endeavor, Mactan-Cebu Airport will cater to 51 million passengers per annum. And I assure you that people will leave Manila and fly through Cebu instead, because people in Cebu are that much more nicer to deal with in Cebu than Manila, okay? I can assure you of that. I'm here, I know that. People in Manila are also nice, but Cebu just a little bit nicer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm sorry to have taken so much time. Salamat tayo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Harrison. We, the AGSB family, would like to present this certificate of appreciation to you for your sharing your valuable knowledge during this AGSB Cebu Business Forum entitled Build Cebu. Courtesy of My Health, they will be giving away for 2 winners 5,000 worth of medical services for free, courtesy of My Health. So we'd like to ask Mr. Harrison to draw 2 business cards. To call on stage Mr. Jerson Boston of Cebu CCTV Inc. and Mr. Jonathan Gesalem, Vice President and COO of Dunkin' Donuts. Mr. Harrison is kind enough to donate 2 more prizes for you. So he will be drawing 2 additional business cards from the fishbowl.
Sorry, just as a means of saying thank you to the group for having us today. Mactan-Cebu International Airport will draw 2 more cards, and we will offer 2 business class return tickets on Philippine Airlines to any destination in the Philippines, okay?
Congratulations to Mr. Raeliza Mantuha, Project Manager of Doris Land. Miss Raeliza Mantuha. And Arman Barwell of JCI. At this part of the program, can I call on my fellow Management Dynamics student, Ms. Ivy Ko, to introduce our second speaker.
Good afternoon. Making more possible through innovation and operational excellence is our second speaker's mantra. He is the President and General Manager of Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway Corp. CCLEC, a subsidiary of the Metro Pacific Tollways Corp., the toll road arm of the Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, a publicly listed infrastructure holding company, and is a member of the MVP group of companies. He is at the helm of the 30 billion Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway project, an 8.5-kilometer toll bridge that will connect mainland Cebu from Cebu City's South Road properties to the Mactan Circumferential Road in Barangay Palipog, Cordova in the Mactan Island. As President and General Manager of CCLEC, he will also steer in the growing pipeline of projects of the MPTC Group in the Visayas and Mindanao regions. He concurrently sits one of the commissioners of the Cebu Port Commission, the governing body of the Cebu Port Authority. Our speaker will also share his best practices in leadership, organization, and community relations that he has gained in his wealth of experience in various fields in the last 25 years. His outstanding portfolio consists of exposures in construction and engineering management, business development, commercial leasing and property management, network development, franchise management across major Philippine companies involved in real estate, property development, food franchising, oil, and engineering. A true blue Cebuano, he is a licensed civil engineer from the University of San Carlos and has completed the Management Development Program at the Asian Institute of Management. Just last year, he was recognized as an outstanding Carolinian Virtus Leadership Awardee in the fields of engineering and business development. Our speaker is happily married and blessed with 4 children. To distress, he is happiest when he plays golf, which is a perfect venue for this afternoon's event. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome our second speaker, Mr. Alfon.
Thank you very much, Ivy. Well, of course, no. Anyway, good afternoon, friends, no, guys. Before anything else, in behalf of our group, the Metro Pacific Tollways Group, I'd like to express our deepest appreciation to Ateneo, Graduate School of Business, especially to our professor, my former colleague, my former mentor, Professor Joy Polioso. Hi, Joy, thank you. And of course, to the Dean Ang, thank you for inviting me. Well, Andrew, sorry I missed to drop my card. I would have won probably the round-trip business ticket. Yeah. Anyway, my presentation will consist of 2 parts actually. One is firstly our project. What is it all about? And I hope that this project can link up the very, very nice airport that we'll have very soon with Andrew. Secondly, well, I was requested by the group to present what I do in terms of leadership. So I hope that I can give it to you. I can show you what I've done. Of course, nobody can claim that he is a leader. All of us are leaders in our own right. Right, Andrew? Okay. Okay, so with further much ado, let me start my presentation. This is more of technical. This is not marketing as what Andrew showed me. But in fairness, Andrew did very well to market Cebu. You know, I also love Manila, but I love Cebu more. Yeah. Okay, the first part will be what we call our CCLEX. By CCLEX, we mean Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway. Okay, to disabuse your mind first, no? A lot of my friends had been asking me, where is the bridge? Or where is the facility that you have been promising for all these years? Okay, to brief you on what we're doing. CCLEX is a design and build project. It is not the typical that once you have the plans, you build it out, and then the contractor starts the construction. This is what we call an EPC project, or engineering, procurement, and construction project. So fortunately enough, after so many months of eagerly waiting, we were able already to issue the notice to proceed to our consortium contractor, composed of 3 major construction companies, international and local. Well, the first day, or the first major milestone will be come July 4. So I bet you, let's bet, that by July 4, you will already see the first construction activity, which will be the driving of the piles for our bridge, for the main bridge. Okay, this project actually is a public-private partnership project. The same with Andrews. Okay. Our partners actually are 2 local government units. This we call our grantors. When I say grantors, this is the City of Cebu and the Municipality of Cordova. So it is a joint venture agreement among 3 major groups. My team, which is what we call the CCLEX, or the Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway Corporation, which will eventually manage, operate, and maintain the toll facility in the next 35 years. The concession agreement was signed recently, about last year, and then we already have the various stages of permits, no? Okay. Okay, let me show you the details of our project. Okay, as you can see, this is a cable-stayed bridge. It is similar to Marcelo Fernan Bridge. But the only difference, mind you, is the cable-stayed will be at the center. It is not like the second bridge where the cable-stayed are on both sides of the facility. It will have a total length of 8.5 kilometers. Okay, the 829 meters is just the main bridge. However, the total link, or what we call the CCLEX, will be 8.5 kilometers, which will be composed of a viaduct, the main bridge, and of course the causeway, which will hit Barangay Pilipog in Cordova. It will have a total of 4 lanes, or 2 lanes on each side. And the height of the bridge, okay, we were given by the Cebu Port Authority a navigational clearance, or a height from the navigation from the sea lane towards the lowest portion of our bridge at 51 meters. Tower height, we were quite fortunate that we were given the permit by the Civil Aeronautics, or the Aviation Board, or a total height of 145 meters. So that's really much taller than what we have in the 2 bridges. Concession period was granted to us by the 2 local government units at 35 years, exclusive of right-of-way. No, right-of-way is always a challenge in all projects. Anyway, I'll explain later why this one probably is not much of a challenge, because we're over water, so we'll not be crossing a lot of informal structures. Design speed, well, for safety, we will really ensure that the design speed will be controlled by us once the bridge is there at 80 to 90 kilometers per hour. Okay, alignment, which will be illustrated later. It will start somewhere in It will start somewhere in the Cebu South Coastal Road, which will be between, I don't know if you're aware of the U-turn slot. near the Cebu City side. Between that point and the SMC side will be the start of our facility, no? So that will be a viaduct on the Cebu City side. And then from there, it will be connected already to the main bridge, which is somewhere in the Shell Island. And then from the Shell Island or the bridge, another viaduct until it reaches a causeway to Cordova. Okay, this is the location of the 3 bridges. So for now, you have the 2 bridges already. The Marcelo Fernan Bridge, which is farthest to the north. And then after that, we have the first bridge, the Mandawi-Mactan Bridge. And then about 7.5 kilometers down south is our proposed bridge, which is CCLEX, no? If you'll see in the lower right side of the slide, we commit to complete that and have it operational and ready by 2021. Okay, this will show you how the bridge will look or how the bridge will look like, no? The components of the bridge. So it will start, the green one is the one that is the viaduct, which will start from the Cebu City side, and then it is connected to the main bridge. And then from the main bridge, another viaduct, and then up to the causeway to Cordova. If you notice, there's the toll plaza at the center. Okay, I'd like to highlight the toll plaza. You know, people are asking why the toll plaza is there. Well, of course, the toll plaza is there not just to collect the toll, but to manage also security. Okay, this is a toll facility. We collect a certain peso amount for every passersby, but this is not just to recover the cost. The more important part there is to maintain the bridge. We don't want people to say that Metro Pacific is just collecting toll to recover money, but the more important part of our role is really to maintain the facility. Okay, a more detailed description of the bridge or the facility. Okay, from the SRP side, it will be about 730 meters or 732 meters from the Cebu City side. That will already be the off and on ramps going to and from Cordova. And then it connects to the main bridge, the blue one, which is 829 meters. And then from that end, another viaduct will connect on the bridge at 340 meters. And then a causeway. Okay, the longest portion or the longest part of our facility actually is the causeway. I'm sure everybody knows that somewhere in Cordova, the formation there is somewhat shale. We call it shale formation, just very, very shallow. So that's the reason why our engineers, our designers said that the most efficient structure over that kind of strata should be a causeway. And then within that causeway, there will be 4 or 5 slab bridges. Of course, we want that fisher folks will continue to have their own livelihood. We cannot cross the channel because of the facility. So the total length of the facility is 8.5 kilometers. Okay, this is your view if you're coming from the south. So if you're coming from Talisay or somewhere farther down south, this is what you'll see. Okay, this is another view of the main bridge actually. So if you notice the cable stays, the cable stay will be at the center, as differentiated from the second bridge, which is on both sides of the lane. Okay, another view of our facility. So I hope that, like our upcoming new airport, this becomes a tourist attraction for our part of Cebu and Mactan. So if you're coming from the south. This is another view. Okay, at night, I'd like to highlight what you will see at night. Okay, if you remember, we're saying that the bridge will be finished by 2021. So that's about 500 years from the landing of Magellan or the birth of Christianity in the Philippines. So we said, and we mandated our designers, that on top of the 2 pylons, there must be 4 crosses, internally lit, so that it can be seen from anywhere. If you're on the plane, if you're in the sea lane, or if you're over land, you can see a total of 8 crosses. So that will be 4 crosses on each side, or 4 crosses on each pylon. So a total of 8. I don't know if you're aware, there's already a committee they call Magellanic, the Magellanic Committee, that will spearhead the celebration of the 500 years anniversary of the birth of Christianity. As a matter of fact, it has been mandated by our team that we should really hype on that 500 years from the landing of Magellan. Now that committee is tasked to really organize an event in cooperation with the CBCP, Catholic Bishop Conference of the Philippines, to, number 1, hopefully invite the King of Spain to grace the event, and secondly, well, we hope that the Pope will come here. So once these 2 personalities are here, we hope that we can ask them to make a side trip towards the bridge and probably lead the ribbon cutting of our facility. I know it's a hard sell, it's a long shot, but cross our fingers. We hope that we can really have those 2 important personalities to be around during the opening of our facility. Okay, on top of the 2 pylons is a view deck, but mind you, this is not for us guys. Actually, the view deck is for maintenance purposes. I know a lot of people ask me if we can access a view deck, whereas a lot of our Spanish engineers said, guys, please don't, because this might be a magnet for people who have those. Well, I don't want to say the word, but you know what I mean. It's kind of tempting for people with, you know. Okay, project highlights. The GVA, or the Joint Venture Agreement, was signed in April 15, 2016 by the 3 parties, our team, City of Cebu, and the Municipality of Cordova. So these are actually our grantors, the 2 LGUs of City of Cebu and Cordova. And then after that, the concession agreement was signed in October 2016. So where are we now? Okay, we have a consultant who will assist my team towards managing the design and eventually the operation of the construction of the bridge. No? So COVI, in coordination with DCCD, is our representative. So he is our consultant that ensures that what we wanted to happen as project owner in the next 35 years will be covered and secured. Then another requirement of the concession agreement is the hiring of what we call an independent consultant. We say independent because this is supposed to ensure the interest also of the grantors. As you know, after 35 years, we want to ensure to our grantors that once we turn over the bridge to you, it is still safe, sound, and of course it is still a bridge that is functioning safely. So that no consult is the consultant that ensures protection for our grantors. Okay, who is the contractor? The contractor is what they call CLJV, or the Cebu Link Joint Venture. It is actually an incorporated joint venture composed of 3 major construction companies, international and local. So the international partner is Acquaah-Harrison, which is a Spanish company that have constructed more than 300 bridges all over the world. And then the Filipino partners are also big construction companies. I'm sure you know first Balfour, which is a member of the Lopez Group, also a publicly listed company. And the third one is another Philippine-based BM Consonni Incorporated. Commencement date, we issued the notice last November 23, 2017, and then the notice to proceed to design and construct. I'd like to highlight again, notice to proceed to design and construct, because this is an engineering, procurement, construction contract. So hopefully they should be able to finish the design by June, which is 2 months from now, so that the big day on July 4, we can start the actual construction, which will be the driving of the piles to the 2 bridges. So the project completion date is targeted to be done by first quarter of 2021, or March 15, 2021, which is 500 years from March 16, 1500 something. Okay, I'm sure what the benefits. Number 1, well, all of us travel quite frequently. I'm a traveler myself. And every time I go to Mactan, it's really a bit depressing that you have to face the chaotic traffic along the 2 bridges. So we hope that once the bridge is there, it will really decongest traffic on both bridges. Now, a lot of friends of mine ask me, why did you decide to construct the bridge on the southern side? Why not on the northern side or near the existing 2 bridges? And in fact, the problematic traffic along 2 bridges are there already. So we said, well, we made a survey that probably 50 to 60% of those traffic that crosses the bridges, the 2 bridges, comes from the south. So we believe that if we want to decongest the 2 bridges, then the traffic coming from South Cebu City, downwards up to Plenary and further down, would not need to cross or not need to go to Cebu City, would not need to go to Mandaue, would not need to go to Lapu-Lapu. So from the south, they can cross immediately to that certain portion of Mactan and hopefully provide a better link to our very nice airport of Andrew. Well, it's there, no? Serve as additional access to Mactan-Cebu International Airport, Andrew. Well, it should help minimize losses due to traffic congestion. I know you read in the papers recently that JICA is saying that in Cebu, we're losing 1 billion pesos because of traffic. Well, with the 3rd bridge, we hope to facilitate more economic activities in Cebu, and hopefully later on, once the government really pursues its plan to construct or probably realize another bridge from Cordova to Bohol, then my God, it will really, really be something that Cebu, Bohol as one. So it really can decongest the city that we all love. Okay, where are we now? Okay, we have practically complied with all the requirements, though it's not there, but we have already the clearance from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. We have the clearance from the CAAP. We also have the clearances from the Cebu Port Authority. And then what is left is securing the clearances from the Philippine Coast Guard. We know this can be done as soon as possible because we already submitted navigational plans. Right of way acquisition, I know this is always a challenge of infrastructure projects, but we have been managing this quite early enough, so we hope that this will not delay the construction of our facility. No? There's no right-of-way issue in the part of Cebu City. There are minimal structures actually that might be affected in Pilipog or Cordova, but be assured that we are handling this early on. In this case, right-of-way will be handled by us. I'm not saying that if it will be handled by our partners in government, it might take time. But at least since it is part of our mandate, our concession agreement, that right-of-way will be our responsibility, so there might be a new tack. It might be faster probably, or it might be more expeditious if we were to handle the right-of-way acquisition. So there are just a minor 7 lots and 21 improvements which might be affected in that part of Cordova. So anyway, the lots documentation as I'm speaking up is already finished. So we're now starting to touch base and offer the price to buy those affected properties. Anyway, a few minutes, I'd like to show you a video presentation of our project. This will just be about 4 or 5 minutes. It's there. Okay.
Cebu City, Queen City of the South. With the rise of commerce, tourism, and industry in the last decade, it has become one of the most developed cities in the Philippines, its growth having a ripple effect to the whole province of Cebu. The municipality of Cordova, a quiet town rapidly experiencing urbanization. It serves as a mangrove sanctuary with a thriving fishing community and growing industries in tourism and residential and commercial real estate. However, with the growth of Cebu and Cordova comes the escalating problem of heavy traffic. This is not just inconvenient to residents and tourists, but is a bottleneck to the region's economy. To responsibly manage this growth, we need to look ahead and anticipate the needs of the future. We need to work together to embrace development, to visualize the possibilities, and we need to create access for people, for services, for everyone to benefit and to know and feel that truly Cebu and Cordova are on the road to progress. That is why we are proud to present the Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway Project. The CCLEX will be an 8.25-kilometer toll bridge that will connect mainland Cebu and the municipality of Cordova. In its completion in 2020, the CCLEX will ease traffic congestion, ignite economic growth, and bring development to the entire province of Cebu. The project includes the construction of the connections to Cebu City and Cordova, the main bridge structure, viaduct, causeway, roadway, and toll facilities. It is located around 7.5 kilometers south of the Mandaue Bridge and will take off from the Cebu South Coastal Road, crossing the Mactan Channel to Mactan Island, specifically in Barangay Pilipog in Cordova Town. Improving access between Cebu and Cordova will open the doors to lucrative partnerships and an improved quality of life for everyone. By relieving traffic in the two existing bridges, namely the Marcelo Fernan Bridge and Mactan-Mandaue Bridge, travel time and even stress for motorists will be reduced, giving them more time to spend with those that matter most in life. Transport of goods and services will be more efficient, ushering vibrant and exciting possibilities for business, employment, and infrastructure. A higher volume of tourists falling in love with the beauty of Cebu is expected as the CCLEX will provide a faster route to Mactan-Cebu International Airport. It will also position Cordova as the major gateway for island tourism in Cebu and Bohol, boosting its tourism sector. This ease of access and movement will encourage township developments in Cordova making it an attractive option for Cebu's working population looking to build a home. CCLEX is a toll bridge facility born through the initiative of the local governments of Cebu City and Cordova. Through a private-public partnership framework, CCLEX will be designed, built, and operated by Metro Pacific Tollways Development Corporation. And after 35 years of operation, ownership shall be transferred to the partner LGUs. During the operation stage, the partner LGUs will receive a share of the toll fee revenue, empowering them to generate business and provide basic social services to their constituents. With a network of toll roads that not only brings faster travel, but also an improved quality of life, the Metro Pacific Tollways Development Corporation is committed to developing infrastructure geared towards nation building. Through the Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway, MPTDC, in partnership with the Philippine government, will establish that no matter the distance, no matter the waters between us, we are one people, one nation, bridging the distance to a brighter and more connected Philippines.
Yeah, what you've seen in video is quite nice, no? But once the reality is there, then I can tell you it's very, very, very nice. Definitely it will be a new tourist attraction in Cebu. Okay, part 2 or management. Anyway, I was requested by your group to share with you what I've learned, which I continue to learn. As I said, everybody is a leader. You lead your family, you lead your children, you lead your colleagues, you also lead yourself. That's why when I'll present this, I'll just simply share to you what I'm doing and what I continue to do and what I really continue to aspire to excel to our day-to-day interactions with our friends, colleagues, and even our kids who teaches us how to be a leader. Okay, qualities of a leader. Initially, we said qualities of a great leader. Then I told my staff, let's remove the word great, because the leader by itself is already a leader, whether great or whatever, no? Okay, the leader should be a good communicator. Or firstly, the leader should be honest. If you're the leader and then your guys might suspect you of being not honest, so firstly, you're not a leader, probably, no? So how can you expect these guys to act like you if you don't practice what you're supposed to be? You should be a good communicator. You can say, not really good in English, not really good in how you deliver your speeches, but it's more of sharing to your team members, so that by sharing unselfishly, you can also motivate your members or your team. Competence. For me, competence is something that you should really be also competent in practicing gut feel decision. Of course, analysis can be helpful, but at times, if you overanalyze, then it might sometimes paralyze your decision-making process. Passion. Of course, you have to love what you do, so that you do your best. Your team, I'm sure, will look up to you. Delegation and empowerment. You must know how to delegate. Don't waste your time in doing all the things that you are supposed to do. I'm sure you can identify people who can help you deliver the tasks of your team. Innovation, be open to change all the time. Think of the box, and be proactive. Accept criticisms, of course. Okay, what we do as part of our best practices in our organization? Teamwork. Each member of our team has its own specific qualities. That's why as a leader, you have to synergize working with them. By synergy, then you complement each other. Open communication with team members. Be open and transparent, of course. Ideas can flow directly to your team members. As I said, welcome criticism, and then in our organization, sometimes the bullies or the bastards also have values in the organization. Consultative leadership. Well, leaders should have good decision-making qualities. Most helpful to consult for stakeholders, especially the ones who will benefit or suffer from it. Situational management, as I said, there's no best style of leadership. You should adjust to given situation, either you coach, you direct, you delegate, and be a supportive leadership. I do believe that in my learnings for the past couple of years, in my stint in Asian Institute of Management, situational management is the best management that I can tell you to really succeed in what you're supposed to do. Ability to learn from the past and move on. Of course, you have to pick up the pieces. You can compare the past and the future and the present, but don't dwell on what happened to you in the past. Try to learn from it. Don't feel demotivated because the next detour that you made might tell you that the first one was a lot better than what I'm doing right now. There's always something good and something bad in each that you take. So dwell on the good, the benefits that you will be taking in your new detour in life. Consistent growth and hitting targets and margins. Of course, this is the only way to grow a successful business. Effective cost management. Ensure that when you make your budget, it's really the right budget, no sandbagging, so that once you have the expenses, it's more or less a balanced budget against the expenses. Okay, what is external or community relations? Transparency. You have to be transparent to your stakeholders externally. But that way, that's the only way that you can earn the respect and get a positive public perception. Good media relations. We have friends here in the media. I'm not saying that you can use them, but cooperate with them because they are they can be a very, very powerful tool to help you in your projects. Practice sincere, effective corporate social responsibility. Contribute. Be ready to share the benefits of what you have to the community around you. Comply, and of course, lastly, compliance with government relations. Whether you like it or not, you have to deal with government. I know some people say that probably the right word is it's always a challenge to deal with government. But of course, if you know how to deal with government, the government can actually help you. Hopefully, it shouldn't break you. So please cooperate with government. I guess this is my last. So thank you guys. So I hope I was able to show you something. Once again, thank you, and certainly this opportunity is certainly appreciated by my team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Engineer Alan Alfon. Please stay on the stage as our MC Brian will read you a certificate of appreciation from Ateneo Graduate School of Business.
So, we, the AGSB family, would like to present this certificate of appreciation to Engineer Alan Alfon for being with us today and sharing his valuable knowledge during this AGSB Cebu Business Forum entitled Build Cebu. Thank you, Engineer Alfon. Given 3 additional 5,000 worth of medical services to be raffled off, and can we request Mr. Engineer Alan Alfon to pick 3 business cards from your fishbowl?
By the way, sorry I cannot do what Handlu did, because as early as now I cannot raffle out our bridge. Maybe next time.
Ahumunonong for primary properties, Mr. Mark Garea of Campilan Guitars, and Mr. Roland L. Fermo of Chef ROJ Cuisine to please claim your certificates on stage. Thank you. Sir, thank you, sir. And now we would like to acknowledge the following sponsors for helping making today's event possible.
While we continue our program, we have prepared a buffet of Pika Pika right outside of the venue. Feel free to get your food outside, but please come back inside to join us again for the plenary session.
This event is brought to you by our gold sponsors: Apple One Mactan Incorporated, Duros Group, Stronger Together, Il Curso Cebu by Philinvest Life Malls, Isuzu Cebu Incorporated, Socor Construction Corporation, Sunstar Publishing, and Trust Art. Our silver sponsors: Apo Cement Corporation, Bright Star Industries Incorporated, Dover Business Services Philippines Corporation, My Health Clinic Cebu, El Tesoro de Cebu Turones, FAG Engineering, Universal Feed Mill Corporation, Justin Agrivet Supply, Gardenia Bakers Philippines Incorporated, FYI Design Studio, Law Offices of Attorney Oliver San Juan, Attorney Jesus P. Garcia and Consul Army Lopez Garcia, and Y101. Special thanks to our bronze sponsors: Tri-J Marketing, Royal Cab Enterprises, Pescadores Seaview Suites Moalboal, Cebu, Consolacion Super Shell Station, Yale Hardware Corporation, Tubod Flowing Water Resort, Campilan Handicrafted Guitars and Ukulele, Partners Auman Caballes Tapia Law Office, EBRSN Tire Plaza, Mandaue Print Shop, Vim Creek, and Ford Tractor Philippines.
With much honor and gratitude for their presence,
let me introduce to you our guest panelists and our facilitator moderator for this afternoon's event. This is not in the order of priority, preference, or beauty. Our first guest panelist is currently the head of Global Services Operations of Lexmark R&D Corporation. Trained in other parts of Asia, North America, and Europe, he is a certified Six Sigma belt, black belt, and lean expert. He earned his 16 years of leadership experience in operations from Sykes, Lear, and Lexmark. He was the second placer in the International Prepared Speech category of the Toastmasters Discon 2011 contest. A writer for Sunstar's column called Single Stock, a batch 2012 gold medal awardee of Ateneo Regis MBA, a strategic leader. Help me welcome Mr. Darwin John Moises. Can you come up on stage here to join us? Our second guest panelist has 21 years of leadership experience in investment, banking, and real estate. She is currently the business director of the Durus Group, spearheading the development of the 200-hectare Northside Beacon Township development within the 18-hole Liluan Golf Course. She is the president and CEO of Regent Property Management International, the operator of our favorite ICT Convention Center and 23 Minari Park. She is the CEO of Cebu Green Peaks Development Inc., a licensed money market dealer. She was part of the pioneering team of BPI Capital Corporation, where she honed her investment management skills for 11 years. She was also actively involved in the business development and project management of Cebu's notable landmarks, Ayala Land Cebu Business Park and Cebu IT Park, and also City de Maria of the Philinvest Group. A magna cum laude BS Mathematics graduate of the University of San Carlos, a UP Diliman diploma earner with the Dean's highest honors for urban and regional planning, a gold medalist of Ateneo Regis MBA, a leader who brings out the best in you. Help me welcome Ms. Lidwina Eco. Welcome, ma'am. And for this afternoon's facilitator and moderator, she is the current chairman of Ormoc Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the managing owner of Ormoc Print Shop and Be More Emerald Training and Consultancy Services. With over 10 years of experience in the academe as the past full administrator and COO of STI College Ormoc and past faculty member of the University of the East and National University Manila, she is an advocate of education, rural development, and helping the community and local economy. Awarded as a Chief Operating Officer of the Year by STI Network of Schools in 2004, recipient of Distinguished UE College of Computer Studies and Systems Alumni in 2007, a Rotarian and an active member of Couples for Christ. An Ateneo Regis MBA graduate batch 2017, a believer of the principle of multiplier effect, or what we know as paying it forward. Happily married with 3 wonderful children, help me welcome Ms. Marisol Aquino Reyes Ngo.
Like to invite back on stage our 2 distinguished speakers as we will start the plenary session.
Once you got your food, please settle down before we begin the plenary session. Also, just a quick reminder, we have given you an evaluation sheet when you entered. Please help us build up a culture of best practices by taking time to filling it out and submitting it to the registration before you leave. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, this is really a very enriching and enlightening event. I'm so happy that the 3 alumni are here and to be part of this wonderful event. Kudos to the batch of Mandine and Marketing Group under Prof. Polyoso. Job well done. We are a full house here and I'm so proud na graduate tayo ng Ateneo. Diba, Dean? Baka kasi bawiin po ninyo yung diploma at saka yung certificate namin. But anyway, so I was informed that kaming tatlo are facilitators, not panelists. Facilitators and at the same time, moderator. But let me begin with this statement. Among of us here, ako lang po yung galing sa Leyte. So sila po ay para pong sa Cebu. So now I'm trying to link on how this development in Cebu can benefit cities, municipalities, and other parts of the Visayas. So later I have questions to pose. So hopefully you'll be able to help me know what opportunities in store for us in other parts of the Visayas. I have to say, Mr. Harrison, that you have an obsession sa washroom, right? Okay. And also, you are a good storyteller. You walk us through how Cebu is really a wonderful city. I'm really very amazed. But I have one question with regards to the airport that you are now constructing. So in few months' time, it will open. And there is this one concern regarding, of course, how these two projects can link. And you were able to answer that also, Engineer Alfon. But my question is, the target completion of that bridge is 2021. And one of the objectives and one of the purposes is to address the problem regarding traffic congestion. And here comes now the airport. There would be a possible influx of tourists and visitors. How can we now address, especially that we heard na ang Boracay will experience total closure in the next 6 months. And we are eyeing, of course, Cebu to be the next tourist destination. So do you think we're ready to accept the influx of tourists in the next few months to come?
Excuse me, thank you. I guess, that answer is the answer to that question is a little complex, because if you look at the components or layers of tourism, it's not just about airport capacity, road capacity. Very critically, it's about bed capacity. Now, I want to tell you, just to give you an example, during Holy Week, the waiting list for rooms at Radisson was 109. Just one hotel. There was no hotel room available either in Mactan or Cebu during Holy Week. Now, that's with Boracay still operating. So if the traffic suddenly shifts here, there's a question of whether we have sufficient bed capacity. Now, there are a lot of new hotels up and coming. The Sheraton is building one. There are a few others which will open for the next 3 years. But bed capacity is a challenge. And that will determine readiness. The other one is availability of public transportation. Are there enough taxis, tourism vans to take people around tourist destinations? That's another key challenge. So these issues must be addressed by the tourism community, which includes all of us, transportation, airports, road, etc., to ensure that we have the ability to meet this demand. So first, can we forecast the demand? Secondly, can we determine how to meet that forecasted demand? Only after we do these two things will we know whether we're ready or not.
Okay, thank you. Before I throw the question also to Anna, my question is still for Andrew, because you mentioned earlier about the phase 2 of the airport development. And my understanding that I think what's good about the Philippines, especially now that we are looking towards the future instead of just addressing our needs in the present. And my understanding is phase 2 is like a 50-year proposal. So can you walk us through more in detail on what are we seeing on this, I think, 3-phase, 50-year proposal?
Yes, sure. So just to also clarify, when we open the Terminal 2 in June and we finish modernizing Terminal 1 in 2019, the terminal will have a total capacity of 15.8 million combined. In 2024, we do a further expansion of both Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, which will take us to 29 million. So in 2025, the terminal capacity will be 29 million. This proposal we put on the table calls for construction of a third terminal, a second runway, because our main runway, well, our only runway, would be saturated by the year 2035. So we call for the construction of a new runway by 2030 so that we have 2 runways to service the airport. That will deal with the growth. And then capacity can go from 29 million to 51 million. And we introduced Terminal 3 plus 2 more satellite terminals, which are connected by underground people mover, automated people movers. So underground trains will connect you between the terminals and the satellites. And that effectively is the way in which we position the airport to manage the growth. We always say an airport is an economic engine of growth. It creates job opportunities, trade, and travel opportunities. So employment in different sectors, for example, we have maintenance hangars which will come as part of this new proposal, which are not there today. So there are more jobs to be created, new industries which will be created here as well. Now, in order to build the new runway, we need land. So we are going to reclaim 300 hectares of land from the Mactan Bay. And we will relocate the Mactan Economic Processing Zone, MEPS1, to the new area, which gives them more land for expansion, and that then will be the site used partially for the new runway. And this we expect to complete over the horizon of basically 50 years. So it's incremental growth designed to meet the projected forecasted growth for the region over a 51-year horizon. Thank you.
Mr. Harrison, first of all, thank you very much for your passion and love for Cebu. And as a foreigner and as a Cebuana myself, looking at the presentation earlier, it was I was really touched by your passion and your sincerity and your love for our little island in the Pacific. My question really is the most important thing for travelers right now is to be able to leave Cebu and arrive Cebu on time. And right now the flight delays are excruciatingly and painfully getting longer and longer. So I understand from your presentation earlier that the second runway is just an expansion. It is not part of the original PPP. And the grant is still up in the air. We're still gonna go into 3 stages. And I also understand that the delay in the airport facility, right, in the flight departures and arrivals has got a lot to do with the queuing at the runway. Just the other day, I just arrived from Manila and we were able to board on time, but we were in the plane for about 1.5 hours, just inside the plane because we couldn't take off. So my question is, how, in all sincerity, how important is the second runway to be able to leave Cebu on time?
Okay.
When we open in June.
Okay, so just to explain, I'm going to guess that the flight you were on that was an hour and a half late was to Manila. Am I correct? Okay. So I just want to explain to everybody that the largest traffic sector for us from Cebu is Manila. Each day we have 52 flights between Cebu and Manila, each day. So the problem we have is the delays in Manila. So due to congestion in Manila, Manila have a process where you have to have clearance before you depart. And you are subject to what's known as a hold delay by Manila. So your 1.5 hour on departure was a hold delay on departure. So typically the departure and arrival delays are related to Manila. Having said that, we do have a problem, a challenge in Cebu, because when you have delayed flights, the allocation of parking bays goes out the window. So a parking bay that was prepared for somebody at 3 p.m., they arrive at 4:30. At 4:30, that bay wasn't supposed to be assigned to them. So sometimes you arrive and you wait on arrival for a parking bay. In June, this problem will be solved because we will double the number of parking bays when Terminal 2 is commissioned. So we address one part of the problem. But the second part of the problem, Manila, we don't address immediately. Now, I was in Manila all of last week, meeting with authorities, trying to find ways of solving this problem. And one suggestion I had was that we prioritize Cebu to Manila flights, because a lot of people fly onto Manila and from there connect onto other destinations. So the impact of delays becomes quite significant. And I can promise many of you would have arrived in Manila on a flight, especially if maybe it's a power flight. If the flight's delayed, you have all these people rushing to get off because they have connecting flights all over the world. You know, they're running past you, pushing you over to get off, because an hour and a half late is a big delay for them in terms of connecting to their next flight. So the Manila issue has to be solved. Now the good news is that we're about to implement a new air traffic management system in Manila, which affects many airports. And it's believed that this will help to relieve some of the pressure. But ultimately, the government's strategy of decongesting Manila is shifting some traffic to Clark. Now, traffic in Clark has gone up from nearly 700,000 to about 1.6 million already in the span of about a year. So that strategy will bear fruit. And over a period of time, we'll see the positive impact of that as Manila becomes less congested. But the departure delay is an issue with delays in Manila, not here. Again, just to give you a basic, a single runway can accommodate 30 movements in an hour. A movement is a landing or a takeoff. And the reason for 30 is because after every departure, you need 2 minutes separation for the next aircraft to depart, so that it's not disrupted by the airflow from the engines of the preceding aircraft. So 60 minutes means 30 movements an hour. Today, at the peak, Mactan is operating 17 movements an hour in the peak. Off-peak, 12 movements an hour. So runway capacity is not a constraint for us until the year 2035, forecasted. The issue is parking bay availability, which will be addressed, but the main issue that you experience is congestion in Manila, not to do with the runway. Yes.
Okay, so allow me to read a question here from the Management and Marketing class addressed to Engineer Alfon. For the Cordova Bridge, do you see any problem having X number of lanes then terminating into 2 lanes in Cordova? And what's the plan in addressing the traffic congestion?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah, we admit that there might be a challenge later on once our facility is there. Admittedly, we are really concerned that if our partners in government would not widen the Mactan-Cebu road starting in Pilipo, Cordova, then there might be some bottleneck issues in that because it will be an intersection already. So you have the third lane coming from our bridge, then you have another one turning right, and another one turning left to the city. So in fairness to the Department of Public Works and Highways, we are now closely coordinating with them, and they were able to allocate funding initially for a few million pesos to do the survey to already start the groundworks for identifying the properties that may be affected once they implement the widening of the Mactan-Cebu Conferential Highway starting in Cordova. And it was made possible, of course, with the efforts of the Sitoy family in Cordova, to the Presidential Assistant Liaison Officer, Secretary Ateneo Sitoy, who really did his best to lobby with government that the national government can allocate a certain amount of funds to start off the widening of the Cordova area.
Finally, I've actually read from the papers, and I'm not sure if you are in the position to at least share that to us, because I think that there are plans, I've read that there are plans on the Lapu-Lapu and the Cordova area about the link from the bridge to the airport and the link from the bridge to the Punta Engano where the beaches are. So can you expound more about that, just in case you're in a position to share that?
Well, okay, firstly, on the link from our ramp off in Cordova towards the airport, of course, we'd like to explore and continue exploring discussions with our partners at the airport. That probably we can work together towards coming up with a direct link, no, from our facility towards the airport. So one option there is probably to cut across the island. So you don't need to go to the circumferential road. This involves a lot of agencies already. So it might involve the national government, the local government of Lapu-Lapu City, and a lot of other stakeholders. That is really the best scenario for us to provide an additional link to the airport of Andrew, more so that they are investing more to construct an additional runway. It's kind of unfair probably for the airport authorities or Andrew to invest that much, but still he will only have one access to the airport, which is the Pusok, no? So I believe that part of the study probably of the authorities is for us to have a better, much accessible airport, there should be an additional access to and from the airport from the existing one, which is mainly to the two bridges and towards Pusok or the Manuel L. Quezon Highway. But of course, probably in the mid to long term, we hope that the government can also widen the Mactan-Cebu Highway, not just for the purpose of providing a direct link to the airport, but of course to support our tourism industry. Because a lot of our tourism, a lot of hotels, what have you, are around the areas of the circumference of the island of Mactan. Islands.
I'm going to ask a little bit about the difficult question to ask. If I'm not mistaken, this is actually going to be the first toll project in Cebu. If I'm not mistaken. This is the first time that anyone from Cebu would be paying something to use an infrastructure like a road. And we are all Cebuanos here, and we know how sensitive Cebuanos is to cost. If I remember correctly, when I came back from Manila, I was kind of surprised why a lot of people were complaining on a 25 pesos parking, no? In Manila, you average about 150 pesos per day for parking. I found it cheap, but I was surprised that people were rallying up people against the 25 pesos parking. So this is something very, very sensitive to Cebu. But I also understand from the business model, of course, that there has got to be a toll. But my question lang is, how do you soften that blow? I mean, to get people, to get Cebu to shell out. I am not very sure if you will share with us how much, but I hope you will.
Yeah, it's a difficult question actually. Okay, the first answer is, this is not the first toll facility in Cebu. When the first bridge was opened actually, it started as a toll bridge, probably for about 3 or 4 years, but admittedly due to some, politics. There was a lobby by certain politicians, I cannot recall the name, but I remember. They lobbied to remove the toll, and because of that, probably certain aspects of the integrity of the bridge suffered. I for one believe that for us to protect our vital structure, we should pay for it. You say, there's something in exchange for convenience. Okay, I'd like to share with you that, and it's close to as early as now, we committed to our grantors, the city of Cebu, and Cordova, that the toll will be 85 pesos per entry. So that's about 10 pesos per kilometer, which is about the same peso per kilometer that our mother company and the San Miguel Group is charging. So it's 10 pesos per kilometer. So in our case, so since it's 8.5 kilometers, then we committed as early as now that the rate that will be charged 3 years from now will be 85. I can assure you that once the bridge is open, since I said 85 now, it will never be 86 or 87 3 years from now. It will still be 85. So that's the toll that we have committed.
Any size of vehicle?
Okay, 85 is the minimum. There are 3 classes of vehicles, so the heavier ones, of course, would be a little higher than 85.
I'd like to throw the question to Mr. Harrison. Since we are now constructing or renovating our airport to be state-of-the-art airport, are you also increasing the terminal fees?
Yes, so my good friend, the great thing about his project is that actually you have 3 bridges to choose from. So if you don't want to pay for the convenience of using the bridge, you have an alternative choice. The challenge, of course, is that in the airport, if you want to fly, you have to pay a terminal fee. So just to let you know, in the concession agreement, the terminal fee is actually controlled by government. So there are increases in the terminal fee. In fact, we are allowed to increase the terminal fee even now, but we said no, we would rather wait until there are new facilities so people think it's worth it to pay the terminal fee. So Mactan-Cebu International Airport under the government has already issued a consultation document, a public hearing to increase the terminal fee from 750 to 850. Now, one thing I want to stress to everybody is that terminal fee does not all come to us. So the 750 which is collected today, only 381 comes to us. The rest goes to Mactan-Cebu Airport and government. VAT, security. So the terminal fee actually pays for various services in the terminal, not just to us. The other thing I want to share with you is that the terminal fee is one of the lowest in the region. If you depart from Changi, Singapore, even though the volume is much higher, the terminal fee is 3,192 pesos. Yeah, we will never be there. We will never be there because the increase is controlled and it is literally by rate of inflation against certain milestones of development. Now, the reason why people don't notice it is because in Changi, it's included in your ticket price, so you don't notice it. One of the things that we will be changing is that the airlines have asked for a period of time, but we're pushing for the airlines to collect it as part of the ticket, so that you will no longer have to pay a separate terminal fee. And that makes it more convenient for the travelers. But ultimately what we want is a situation where the traveler believes that this is a fair rate to pay because they have facilities that have been provided for them and therefore they're prepared to pay for them. The International Civil Aviation Organization, Acquaah, has a principle called the user pay. So under the user pay principle, it allows for payment of terminal charges provided development has taken place. And that's the principle under which the concession agreement was written. But it's fully controlled by the government. We cannot determine what the fee should be. Government determines that.
Hello. Yeah. Another question from the Mandarin class. Once the Terminal 2 is complete, how would the Cebu Airport rank against other well-recognized airports?
Okay, so there's a product called IATA, International Air Transport Association, is a body that represents airlines. Airports are represented by a body known as Airports Council International, ACI. They have around 600 airports that are members of ACI. In there, they have a program known as Airport Service Quality, ASQ. ASQ is a program where a minimum of 350 passengers, departing passengers, every quarter have to be surveyed against 34 parameters. The parameters include
Friendliness of staff, waiting time at check-in, immigration, value for money, sense of security, car parking, signage, retail, washroom cleanliness, friendliness of staff. These are the 34 parameters. And you're ranked on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being excellent, 1 being poor. So 5 is the maximum. So in Delhi, Delhi Airport has become #1 in the world for airports handling more than 40 million passengers. In Cebu, under the concession agreement, we have to achieve a score of 3.5 minimum. Today, we are at 4.2. We believe that Mactan-Cebu, by the time Terminal 1 is developed, will rank #1 in its category of 5 to 15 million passengers per annum. That's our objective. And the other airports in the group have reached #1. I have to take us to #1 as well.
So at this time, we would like to invite the members of the audience to also join us and through your questions. Are there any section that they can probably stand up and approach for them to be able to ask their questions? Okay, Jeff. You can.
I have a question for Engineer Alfon. It's sort of related to your project, but not exactly. I understand your project should be up and operational by 2020, right?
No, sir, it's 2021.
2021.
Yes.
But NEDA, if I'm not mistaken, NEDA has already also approved 2 other projects which connects Cordova to Bohol and Bohol to Maasin. Is there any alignment with your project with regards to that, and how would that, I guess, affect the overall area in terms of Cordova?
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we are looking very keenly on the Cordova to Bohol. We know that the possible alignment will be somewhere in Cordova, and then it hits that part of Itafe in Bohol. We believe that's the shortest link and probably the most efficient cost, or the most costly efficient link towards Bohol. I know for a fact that there was one meeting with our chairman and our president and the NEDA board about the recent approval by the NEDA of the bridge towards Bohol. And our management said that if there's if the financial picture proves that it is worth investing, then definitely we will explore the possibility of participating in realizing the link towards Bohol.
This brings me to my next question to Mr. Harrison. There are talks, I'm sure it's out in the open already, that the Acquaah Airport, which is an international airport, is going to open first quarter or December this year, but it's going to open anytime soon. Will that take away some of the foot traffic in our new airport, and how is it going to be affecting the revenue stream from our new airport? And if I may be allowed to ask my next question before them, because marketing the airport is actually marketing Cebu and everything else that's happening in Cebu. And we in the tourism sector also in Cebu is very, very much interested and would be very, very glad to support the Mactan Airport thrust, because we also would be benefited from any benefit that the airport could get, and not to mention that it's going to open Cebu to the world. I've talked to some partners, and one of the more difficult, one of the challenges that of coming to Cebu is the visa, the visa requirement. China, for example, Chinese are required to get visa in order to travel to the Philippines. And if I'm not mistaken, again, Thailand and Malaysia, which is a direct competitor of Cebu in the tourism market, doesn't require the Chinese to get a visa. So is there any way that this new airport facility and the entire tourism sector can work together to at least get this thing heard that have already been taken so far?
Okay, before I answer that question, I'd really like to offer you a job, because I think that's a really fantastic question. You really should work for us. And I tell you, the visa issue is a really important factor. We have been lobbying with government to make the country more accessible. And I tell you why, just to give you an example. The entry into Thailand is so easy that most travelers from the region pick Thailand because of ease of entry. It's as simple as that. I'll give you another example. If you look at the Chinese market, the UK Chamber of Commerce undertook a study, and they realized that the UK as an economy was losing more than £3 billion sterling a year due to a reduction in Chinese travel. And the reason for that is when Chinese people apply for a visa, they have to apply twice. One, because they're going to Europe, one Schengen and one UK. Each application takes 3 weeks, they have to send the documents off, they have to have an interview. So on social media, the news started going around to say, don't bother with the UK. When you go to Schengen, you can visit more than 30 countries anyway. Why waste your time applying for the UK? And the numbers just dropped. The UK took an unprecedented step where they then decided that if you as a Chinese person applied for your visa through one of 580 travel agents, your Schengen visa qualifies you for entry to the UK. Unprecedented step, because the economic value of those tourists coming in was significant. So we're lobbying for a more visa-friendly regime, and what we've suggested to the government is they can have an online visa application. We recognize the government needs to control who comes in and out. They need to be able to maintain a watch list for those undesirables, blacklisted, traffickers, etc. But they can do that by an online application, which means from the comfort of your home you can apply. India, for example, introduced this system, and their tourism numbers have almost gone up threefold as a result of the ease of entry into the country. So we're working on that, and we hope that the government will be able to find a facilitation mechanism. Coming to your question on Bohol, I don't know if you know this, but domestic travel in the Philippines out of 100 million people by air was only 24 million. So if you look at surrounding countries and the percentage of travelers versus the economy, the population, air travel is much higher. In the Philippines and for an island nation, it's extremely low. So we believe that there is adequate space and room for more air travel to take place, and air travel should be diversified. I mean, it would be great to have it all in Cebu, but we want the whole Philippine economy to grow. So if air travel becomes accessible from new regional airports like Bohol, it's actually better for the overall economy. Will we lose some traffic? Yes. But in fairness, their runway is only 2.5 kilometers long. So they're restricted. They cannot accept large, wide-bodied aircraft. Those will continue to come to Cebu. So we will see some shift, but we'll also see growth. So we think that the airports can complement each other in a way. And there's nothing like a bit of healthy competition, is there? So that's good for the consumer and it's good for the market. So we're open to the development of Bohol airports and other airports as well.
Okay, so now, I have here with me Mr. Ramon Sevilla. A question for Mr. Harrison as well. Sir, please introduce the NGO you're with before asking your question.
Hello, my name is Ramon Sevilla, and I'm a regional planner. I work with the Cebu capital, Cebu province. My first question is for Mr. Andrew. I really like the presentation, very nice graphics. My concern is that the way you presented your explanation there is that you are in fact selling Cebu. The airport is just a gateway. A very big concern for us planners is the fact that Cebu is becoming known for its very bad traffic. Are you making this as a major concern that you're discussing with the city governments about making this connection? What are their plans for this? I know in the JICA plan for Mega Cebu 2015, there is a plan for a monorail, but I don't know when that's going to materialize. The BRT probably will not see the light of day because of some politics. So I'm concerned about the reputation of Cebu becoming more difficult. When I travel to Mactan, I always give myself a 3-hour leave. I cannot leave 2 hours before, at least So that's my concern. How are we going to sell Cebu with this very bad traffic? My other question is to Mr. Alfon. Part of my question was answered about the problem of the road receiving your bridge traffic. And you're saying you are dependent on your partners with regards to the hope that the Mactan circumferential road will be improved. Are there any timetables for this already? Thank you.
Ikaw. Traffic. Okay. In regards to the timetable of government in widening the Mactan circumferential highway, but it's an ongoing activity by it's an ongoing engagement by the national government. As a matter of fact, you have noticed that they have already completed the widening the portion from Pusok up to the area in the Mactan Economic Zone 1. They get yearly allocation from the national government in the amount of 200 million pesos every year. But the problem is, well, there's always an issue of right of way. Unfortunately, the efforts of the DPWH has been stunted because there are really certain property owners who really doesn't want to cooperate with government in widening the roads. They're demanding prices for their properties sky high. Even though there's already a law that once the government deposits 10 or 15% of the fair market value of the property, well, theoretically or legally the government can take over. But these people can always run to the courts. And then here you are, our courts will issue TROs right away. But again, it's kind of confusing because there's also a law that prohibits the court to issue TROs for vital government projects. So in short, the government has to put their acts together actually. Now, in regard to our own initiative of providing an improvement towards probably contributing in the solution of the worsening traffic problem in Cebu, we are exploring already submitting more unsolicited proposals to offer to the government that if they are willing, then we can take over the implementation of these planned projects. We are now in discussions with certain agencies. If they are open really for us to submit unsolicited proposals so that we can take part in the feasibility study and hopefully convince ourselves that it's right and it's opportune time to submit an unsolicited proposal. Okay, one very important project is I'm sure you're aware of the Metro Cebu Expressway. This is a 50-kilometer islands project that starts somewhere in Kalkal or Naga, and then it goes up to the mountains until it goes down to Danao City. That project is really something to look at. So we hope that the government will really implement that. Otherwise, we can take a look at cooperating with government in participating towards the realization of Metro Cebu Expressway. There are other certain projects like the coastal highways that the government is planning to do. Then again, for now what we're doing is just to closely coordinate with government and see how can we participate towards realizing these very vital projects to resolve traffic issues and continue attracting investors in the city that we call Cebu City, which we all love. Thank you.
There's a very famous saying in Cebu, it's so traffic. Yeah, so I lose sleep about traffic, I must tell you. In the first 2 years of managing the airport, I had a budget of 35 million pesos just to help support the LGUs and other entities to find solutions by bringing in consultants, etc. I must tell you, it didn't work. because I think there is a lack of recognition of how serious a problem traffic is today. Time lost, the economic loss in terms of value by sitting in traffic rather than being able to do the job. Just imagine a delivery driver in today's traffic scenario can only achieve 3 deliveries a day. 2 years ago we could achieve 5 deliveries a day. So economically this is a loss to us. Now, any airport system comprises of 3 layers. Airspace capacity, which includes runway, air traffic. Terminal capacity, which is the airport terminal, car parking, drop-off, pickup. And what we call surface access, which is any connectivity between the airport and the city. So if you design an airport for 30 million, the airspace can only deliver 20, the roads can only deliver 10. In all likelihood, you will never achieve more than 10 million. That's why we focus on connectivity. Now, what we've discovered is there's a bit of a fragmentation because each of the LGUs is only looking after its specific area. So one solution that we've given is a concept of cable cars. We've suggested and we promote the concept of cable cars because you have less right-of-way issues with cable cars than you do either with BRT or a monorail or even a metro system. Number 2, it's faster to develop and deliver. Number 3, it's much cheaper from a cost perspective because all you have to have is the footings. So what we decided is, or what we proposed and recommended to the LGU is to have a cable car system in Mactan that connects all the resorts along the shoreline to the airport with interchange stops at jeepney change points. Because if you look at Brazil and Bolivia, they have both pioneered mass transit cable cars at low, affordable costs. And it's something quite different and interesting that, you travel on a cable car to go around between resorts and the airport and the jeepney interchanges. Now, there are some companies that have expressed an interest in doing this without cost at all to the LGU or the government, and we're trying to facilitate these discussions. We're even willing to invest, if necessary, if it will make a difference, because ultimately, we don't want the airport to be constrained by traffic and congestion. But today, I must tell you, it is a major cause of concern for us.
Well, that really makes a lot of sense. And now, we have to wrap up because we're running out of time. But again, we have also to tackle on the leadership. And I am tasked to somehow personify this nation building part of AGSB learning. And having heard all these investment potentials in Cebu, the influx of tourists is the result of this infrastructure in Cebu, yung airport, the Cebu project, Cordova project, from the perspective of a person living outside Cebu. To be specific or more, as one of the first-class cities in the Philippines. And let me mention that during the Visayas planning of local chambers, Ormoc Region 8 is 10 years behind Cebu and 8 years behind Iloilo. And what I can say now is we have to prepare and we have to complement with one another. We can provide Cebu the human capital you need because you are a booming economy. But help us also in our tourism by coming up, like for example, India's tourism circuit is already being done by Western Visayas. So I am appealing to the stakeholders here, decision makers, please try to include also Region 8 to be one of the tourist destinations of your tourists. And I hope, Mr. Harrison, you come to visit Region 8, explore if there will be a PPP project because we need really nice airports so that, as you said, all the economy, your dream is to see that all parts of the Philippines will be progressive. So with that, I don't know if my colleagues here have something to say.
No, I thought this is going to be a segue in the leadership part. So Liz just whispered to me that she has a difficult question specific to leadership. Yes?
Okay,
so I think we'll just, because I think the conversation for this afternoon is in 2 parts now. There's nation building and there's leadership. So I think we'll just have to end, the series of questions with just this leadership question. Yes.
Okay, I look around and I see very young people here, and apparently we are not of the same generation. My team cross the line between that generation gap, the generation of ours that were used, and your generation of typewriters and no, my generation crossed over. I was in college when the first computer came up. So, but this generation is already digital. So, with all of this, how do we upgrade our leadership qualities in order to fit this young people over here? On top of what Ateneo would teach them as part of the AGSB module.
In short, based on your experience, how can we better lead the millennials? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe just food for thought. Last year in 2017, there were 29 global conferences helping businesses to understand how to adapt to the changing needs of the millennial generation. 29 in 2017 alone. These conferences focused on how to, what employment environment you need to create for millennials, what product adaptation you need to make for millennials, various factors that really stunned many people. So the shift in terms of the millennial generation is a significant one. The traditional concept of come to an airport and shop at the airport and go, no millennial is really interested in doing that. The millennials are interested in experiences. They want to go to the place where that product is made. They want a traditional product. So that's one challenge. How do we change and modify our business environment? Second, in terms of leadership, how do we embrace the digital age where millennials are far more adept than perhaps people of my generation? So digital data, there's lots of it. It's a question of what do you do with it. So how do you train and develop people to be able to harness digital information and make better quality decisions based on that digital information? What are the travel patterns of millennials? What are the things they like to do? How can you give them greater control of their travel journey and their experience? The days of going to a travel agent for millennials are long gone. Millennials sit at home on a smart device and plot their entire journey so they're in complete control of every element of their journey. So what happens to the traditional travel agent? What happens to the traditional elements that we've been used to for so long? So as business leaders, we need to adapt. And after the millennials will come the next big generational shift. So it's not just about the millennials, it's preparing ourselves to be able to adapt to the generational changes that will occur over our lifetimes. And I'm not sure there's any one specific answer. The only thing I can say is three things. Agility, ability to adapt, and three, ability to go out beyond your comfort zone and try to understand what the consumer demands and therefore what your leadership style must be to meet the demands of this new generation of consumer.
Very well said, Mr. Harrison. So let us give our guests a round of applause. Very enlightening, engaging discussion indeed.
You know what, the question raised by Liz is very kind of difficult because I'm part of her being a millennial. Anyway, for me, well, I want the millennials to be more active, participate, lead the way. You know what, we have problems right now with certain politics and government. Unless millennials like her and myself will be more active, then probably that's the only time that we can wish and hope and probably realize the dreams of better infrastructure for Cebu, probably for Ormoc also, and everybody. If we continue to be passive, wait for government to act, then it might be difficult. It might be a change of Cebu that we wanted to look forward to in the many years to come. So, to the millennials, everybody, please be active, participate, don't be passive. Okay. By the way,
I think that's a good way to close our panel discussion for this afternoon. So we'd like to thank Andrew, as well as Alan, and as well as the members of the audience for your questions and for attentively participating and listening and staying engaged in this conversation. So that said, we're going to, and thank you, Liz, I forgot, Maricel, and we're going to turn this over back again to
Ivy. Yes, thank you very much to our speakers and to our panelists or facilitators. But please stay on the stage. For now, we'd like to invite our marketing management and management dynamic students to please join us on the stage so that we can have a photo opportunity before they go. We know that all of you have your busy schedule. So, and of course, Professor Joy and Dean Ann, please join us on the stage.
Fora like these are always ended with thanks. I won't give the usual thanks because we've thanked everyone enough personally and altogether. But I wonder if you paid a little attention to the school song of the Ateneo played at the beginning of the forum. If you don't pay too much attention, you might have thought there were two prayers broadcast at the beginning of the forum. Because there's the actual opening prayer. And then there's the Ateneo song for Mary, which really is a prayer in itself. And one of the missions of the Ateneo really is about communicating to people that all we do is for the greater glory of God. I enjoyed very much this afternoon session. If you watch CNN and you listen to Richard Quest, one of his commercials about his show is always about what a profitable hour. And I felt that it has been a really profitable afternoon for me. I don't often say that. I often am forced to attend events I don't enjoy. This is one event I have truly enjoyed. It makes me feel like moving to Cebu, actually. The opportunities seem so exciting. The challenges seem so tremendous. So it makes me envy you guys who are here because there seem to be so many exciting opportunities ahead for you. This is, of course, a shameless effort to recruit students for the Graduate School of Business campus here in Cebu. But more than that, I think this effort really emphasizes that even if the education we try to provide is from Manila, is our faculty fly-in from Manila, it really is an education for Cebuanos. And a forum like this makes it crystal clear. Our goal is to connect our students and our graduates to the Cebu business community, to tap the opportunity, not just Cebu, but the Visayas, right? Not just to learn skills, but to apply them here. And that's the whole reason why there is a Cebu satellite campus for the Graduate School of Business. An education that is in many ways Manila, but for Cebu. And I'd like to, I said I wouldn't thank anyone, but I do want to thank all the students and alumni who made this possible. Really, truly, what a profitable afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Rudy Ann. Thank you everyone for coming here this afternoon and making this event possible. Of course, we would also like to thank our sponsors, our suppliers, and the marketing management and management dynamics students of AGSB for tirelessly working to make this event happen. Thank you all, and I hope you could join us after for a short fellowship.
chanting your one. Sige, say something. Yes. Viva Ateneo.
Give the cue.
Alright.
Cue, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
1, big five.
Alright.
Okay, I'd like to thank and congratulate everyone in my class in Mandarin Bridges and Markma Standard. This is such a one-of-a-kind and never been done before kind of an activity. It's a joint effort. It's a real collaboration. It's not just done not just very organized, but really superb, excellent, and I can't in any other way describe it, but just, you know, thank you everyone, congratulations, and ADMG! Like I said, this is one of a kind and never been done before, so congrats to everyone, all the efforts paid off. On my reply to this also would like to really extend our appreciation to the other students, even my Shama students who are waiting for their last minute consultation. Thank you to Dean, thank you to Jeff, thank you everyone, thank you to the panelists, congratulations, and I'm super grateful for what you have done today.